Secondhand cigarette smoke. Will Congress pass a law to crack down on smokers?
A second crest and maybe a third. The Mississippi River continues to rampage through an exhausted Midwest.
And an Eye on America investigation. Tonight, from miracle to nightmare. Communicating the truth or something else.
This is the CBS Evening News with Dan Rather and Connie Chung.
Good evening. The federal government today made several aggressive moves against secondhand tobacco smoke. And Congress is considering a law now that would make smoking inside many buildings virtually impossible. Correspondent Linda Douglas has more about cracking down on smokers.
5-year-old Max Graham today became the latest soldier in the government's war against secondhand cigarette smoke. Max has asthma. He told a group of congressmen what happened to him when he sat next to a smoker at a baseball game.
What did his cigarette smoke do to you?
It made me cough.
And what else?
Throw up.
For months, the Environmental Protection Agency has warned about the hazards of secondhand smoke, estimating that it kills 3,000 non-smokers a year. Today, Congressman Henry Waxman proposed a law which would make it nearly impossible to smoke in most buildings.
Under this legislation, smoking will be banned or restricted to separately ventilated rooms in all public, commercial, and school buildings.
Many businesses and restaurants already separate smokers and non-smokers, but smoke drifts. Under the proposed law, smokers would have to be segregated completely and their smoke removed by a separate ventilation system. Businesses probably wouldn't want to spend money on such changes, so smokers would likely be banished to the outdoors.
Secondhand smoke is a human lung carcinogen.
The EPA unveiled tough recommendations. Among them, no smoking at home if non-smokers live there, and no smoking at schools or child care facilities. Congressmen from tobacco-growing states challenged the EPA's premise that secondhand smoke causes cancer. They echoed arguments made by cigarette companies.
The agency has deliberately abused and manipulated the scientific data in order to reach a predetermined, politically motivated result.
This could be a tough year for cigarette companies. Not only will Congress consider a federal ban on smoking in public buildings, it may also consider raising the cigarette tax by as much as $2 a pack. Linda Douglas, CBS News, Washington.
There is promising news tonight in the fight against breast cancer. For the first time ever, evidence indicating there may be a simple way for women to reduce their risk. CBS News health correspondent Dr. Baba Arnott has that story.
46,000 women will die this year of breast cancer. Unlike so many other diseases, there has been nothing you could do to prevent breast cancer. But the solution may be right on the shelves of your neighborhood grocery store. A new study in the New England Journal of Medicine says that vitamin A, found in certain fruits and vegetables, can reduce the risk of breast cancer by 20%.
This study suggests an effective, safe way of preventing breast cancer. That is, change your diet, eat plenty of vegetables and fruits.
The study says women should eat 2 servings a day of vitamin A-rich vegetables, like carrots, spinach, yellow squash, sweet potatoes, or collard greens.
It's possible that vitamin A plays a role here by keeping potentially cancerous cells in check.
The study emphasizes that vitamin A should come from foods. According to this research, vitamin A supplements provide no increased protection for women. Experts say most people, like Kathy Schlossberg, do not consume enough vitamin A. In many cases, they don't even know which foods contain vitamin A.
I really eat what I enjoy eating. I don't feel that there is any true control over whether you're going to contract breast cancer or not.
This new study is the first to show there may finally be something that some women can do to prevent breast cancer. More help may be on the way. The National Cancer Institute is conducting massive trials of the preventive drug tamoxifen. Doctors stress that even with prevention, regular mammogram screening is the most effective way to save lives. Dr. Bob Arnott, CBS News, New York.
33,000 Americans had a new kind of surgery last year to open clogged arteries. A rotating cutter was used to remove the blockage. Researchers report tonight that this new procedure is no more effective than angioplasty, in which a tiny balloon is used to open the arteries. The cutting operation is also more expensive and may be more dangerous.
Suicide is the 7th leading cause of death in this country and one of the most puzzling, leaving the surviving family and friends to ask why. As correspondent Susan Spencer reports, they find themselves asking that very question inside the White House tonight.
48-year-old White House attorney Vincent Foster was one of President Clinton's dearest friends. And news of his death last night in this Virginia park, apparently from a self-inflicted gunshot, sent shockwaves of grief through the White House.
It is an immense personal loss to me and to Hillary and to many of his close friends here, and a great loss to the White House and to the country.
The two were kids together in Hope, Arkansas. Foster was a partner in the same Little Rock law firm as Hillary Rodham Clinton, with whom he was also very close. The counsel's office where Foster worked has drawn frequent fire for everything from the botched search for an attorney general to its handling of the White House travel office affair. Foster was never blamed. A few friends said the criticism and an editorial blasting Mrs. Clinton's former law firm did distress him deeply, but to most, his suicide was a mystery. No note, no explanation.
All of our reason, all of our rationality, all of our logic can never answer the questions raised by such a death.
The president told reporters what he had told his staff.
We have to pay maybe a little more attention to our friends and our families and our co-workers and try to remember that work can never be the only thing in life.
White House aides say the Department of Justice will coordinate any further investigation, though what might be investigated further is unclear. President Clinton will attend funeral services Friday, first in Little Rock and then in Hope. Susan Spencer, CBS News, the White House.
Straight ahead on the CBS Evening News, Midwest towns fight still rising water levels while homeowners and farmers wonder if the flooding will ever end.
And how about a new slice in defense spending? Why some want to stop military golfing privileges.
When you have a good breakfast, you don't feel like you're slowing down in the morning.
Next week is Grape Nuts Discover the Difference Week. Discover how breakfast with Grape Nuts helps keep you going all morning.
Energy all morning? Count me in.
Discover the difference breakfast with Grape Nuts can make, the fat-free natural energy source.
There's just something about it.
And discover a taste that's
really hearty.
Look for your $1 coupon in Sunday's paper.
It's time I did something good for me.
Grape Nuts Discover the Difference Week starts next week.
A night for Excedrin PM.
Daddy said I can.
You're late.
My head aches and I can't sleep.
Excedrin PM. Headache medicine, plus it helps you sleep. And rest assured it's aspirin-free. Why is Tux medicated pads the brand of hemorrhoid relief hospitals trust most? Because when hemorrhoids flare up, Tux provides soothing, cooling relief on contact. Tux, the brand hospitals trust most.
Getting hard to believe, but still more rain fell today on the saturated Midwest. At St. Louis this morning, the Mississippi was surging downstream at a rate not seen in 90 years, more than 1 million cubic feet per second. And as Vicki Mabry reports, some of it was surging into people's homes.
South St. Louis refuses to yield to the River Des Peres, even though a mile-long section of levee gave way last night during an intense rain, claiming dozens more homes in the area.
I'm pumping the basement out for right now, just trying to keep everything down as dry as possible. That's all I can do for right now.
And there are fears saturated levees won't hold out much longer.
That's the problem people have been facing. They're shoring up levees and adding to them, and really they can't dry out.
The waters are cresting now along the last 100 miles of the Mississippi that are in danger of flooding, from just north of St. Louis in Grafton, Illinois, down past St. Genevieve and Cape Girardeau. St. Genevieve keeps sandbagging, trying to preserve its historic buildings, and Cape Girardeau is protected by a 54-foot flood wall. Every day, river communities hope and even believe they've seen the worst of the flooding, but it seems each day the crest is higher, and forecasters predict it could rise even more.
We keep getting rain in Iowa and Minnesota and Wisconsin. We
Kansas. We're getting a lot of rain in Kansas right now, Nebraska. All of this is coming this way, and it just fills in behind what we thought, what the crest was.
More rain is predicted from now through the weekend, possibly 5.5 inches. Unwelcome news throughout the Midwest.
Pretty rough. Pretty rough. We'll make it. There's a lot of people got a whole lot rougher than we have.
Forecasters say even if it stopped raining today, the river wouldn't drop back to flood stage in most areas until mid-August. So it appears these river communities are in for a very long haul. Vicki Mabry, CBS News, St. Louis.
As bad as the Midwestern floods have been, and make no mistake, they have been and are terrible, the damage and loss in life is small compared to the floods now rampaging over the northern plains of India. More than 500 people have been killed there, and 4 million have been driven from their homes in India.
Now from around the world, more CBS News. Up to 90 boat people are believed to have drowned off the coast of Malaysia. The victims were illegal immigrants from neighboring Indonesia forced to swim to shore from a smuggling ship.
In Bosnia, a crucial battle continues on a mountain overlooking Sarajevo. Bosnian troops are holding out against a Serb offensive aimed at cutting off a supply route for the beleaguered government forces.
1,700 German soldiers are flying into Somalia to join the UN peacekeeping force. It's the first overseas deployment for the German military since World War II.
And some kids in Australia found a giant egg and hatched a scientific mystery. It's identified as a 2,000-year-old fossil laid by the extinct elephant bird of Madagascar, 5,000 miles away across the Indian Ocean. Scientists say it may have floated across the water. Stay with us for much more of the CBS Evening News, including random shootings on Miami's main boulevard. Can anything be done to make the mean streets safer?
The doctor said to use hydrocortisone cream for my itch.
Try Preparation H hydrocortisone cream to effectively relieve problem itch.
It worked great, and I didn't need a prescription.
Preparation H hydrocortisone cream, prescription strength without a prescription.
Every second of an asthma attack can feel like an eternity. That's why there's Primatene Mist. Primatene opens clogged breathing tubes fast when speed counts. Primatene Mist, fastest type asthma relief without a prescription.
The facts, just the facts. When you buy a PFISTER, you get far more faucet. Starting with a fabulous engineering inside, on top of which they add fashion galore. Far more faucet for far less money, which is why nothing, in fact, compares to PFISTER. The fabulous faucet with a funny name.
Anna wants me to try something I've never tasted before.
It's the Kellogg's Mueslix.
Don't you just love the way she talks?
The taste of the Kellogg's Mueslix cereal is very surprising.
Hey, this is very surprising.
It's got plump raisins.
They are plump.
The flakes are very crispy in the Kellogg's Muesli.
It's crispy.
The crunchy almonds, the brown sugar, and the yummy dates.
It's yummy.
Surprise yourself with the fabulous taste of Kellogg's Mueslix.
No. Kellogg's Mueslix.
He was obsessed with a TV star. Then he killed her. But you don't have to be famous to fear a stalker. 48 Hours Tonight.
A still developing story tonight at Fort Hood Army Base in Texas. Military investigators are looking into the shooting deaths of 3 National Guardsmen apparently killed by what the military calls friendly fire during overnight combat training. A still unconfirmed report says they may have been shot by fellow guardsmen who mistook them for pop-up targets.
Across America, many cities are suffering a plague of urban gun crimes that are turning the streets into free fire zones. Correspondent Diana Gonzalez has a case in point tonight from one of the meanest streets around.
Restaurant 411, a trendy eatery on Miami Beach. But last night, people weren't here to party.
One individual can matter. Jimmy loved everyone that he worked with, that he played with.
This was a memorial for the latest victim of random violence plaguing a slice of Miami's Main Street, Biscayne Boulevard. The restaurant's 27-year-old chef, Jimmy Breen, was gunned down doing a good deed, driving home a dishwasher who missed the last bus. His 23-year-old widow is 7 months pregnant. Breen had been warned about driving down the boulevard late at night, where crime has become a way of life.
But even in broad daylight, there are no guarantees. It was here that a 6-year-old boy was fatally shot just last month. An innocent bystander caught in the middle of crossfire on a main street where people want at least the illusion of being safe.
And that's the whole problem. It can happen anywhere.
Miami Herald columnist Robert Steinbach says every wave of firearm tragedies sparks renewed debate over who's in charge of our streets.
To have a place where a child, simply by virtue of playing on the street, can become the victim of a stray bullet fired, and to have it happen 3 times in the span of 2 weeks, has to make people stop and say, what have we created here?
So yeah, it's very frustrating that we, as police officers, do the best we can, but it's just not enough.
While some people choose to avoid or shield themselves from the riskier sections of Biscayne Boulevard, others can't get away from it. So Miami police set up a substation on the toughest part of the boulevard. That didn't prevent Jimmy Breen from being murdered just 2 blocks away. Diana Gonzalez, CBS News, Miami.
Still to come on the CBS Evening News, Eye on America. What was supposed to be a miracle breakthrough turns into a nightmare for some parents.
Okay, when it comes to taste, some wholesome cereals tap dance around the issue. But oatmeal crisp is different. See, they take brown sugar, then they bake it into crispy flakes, nuts, and fruit. Now, that's a lightly sweet taste that'll tangle all over your taste buds. You want a boogie with a bell of the breakfast ball? Well, here's your partner. Oatmeal crisp with almonds, apples, or raisins. Brown sugar baked, wholesome, darn tasty, too.
Most of the Earth's surface is covered by water, which means most of the Earth is covered by Princess. No cruise line sails more ships to more ports of call worldwide than Princess, because it's more than a cruise. It's the love boat.
Oh, we dreamed about a vacation in Hawaii for 12 years. Then we get there and disaster strikes. We're all stuck in our room with diarrhea. So I bought Imodium AD. I heard it worked better.
Original prescription strength Imodium AD stops diarrhea, often with 1 dose, instead of dose after dose of the pink stuff.
With just 1 dose, our diarrhea was gone, and so were we, out having the time of our lives.
Imodium AD, the original prescription for 1 dose relief.
Can vitamins help prevent breast cancer? Find out the latest. Plus, the Home Shopping Network. See what's in store. Tomorrow on CBS This Morning with Harry Smith and Paula Zahn.
From Washington, new information tonight about the House Post Office scandal. Sources now indicate that federal prosecutors are investigating whether as many as 11 current and former members of the House got illegal cash payments from the post office in exchange for stamps and stamp vouchers. Court papers indicate that some of the money may have gone to Ways and Means Committee Chairman Dan Rostenkowski. That's an accusation, not so far a formal charge.
Supreme Court nominee Ruth Bader Ginsburg was back for a second day of Senate confirmation hearings. She indicated there are times when the court must lead the way towards social change. Ginsburg gave, as an example, cases in which the court guaranteed blacks the right to vote in primaries. Members of the Congressional Black Caucus came out of a White House meeting today saying they are hopeful now that their strained relations with President Clinton will improve. They say they asked the president to include more women and minorities in his inner circle. And Defense Secretary Les Aspin today denied the Clinton compromise plan to include gays in the military will lead to a flood of lawsuits. Aspin told Congress the new policy is sound and more likely to withstand legal challenges than the old policy.
Well, more changes may be coming to the military, not on the battlefield, on the golf course. Pentagon correspondent Jim Stewart reports on a proposal to make military courses open to both the general and the general public.
They take their golf seriously in the armed forces, but even veteran budget cutters in Congress had no idea how seriously until Senator Dennis DeConcini suggested opening up military courses to paying civilians, a move he estimates could earn $100 million a year.
We're in a budget crisis. We've got a $4 trillion debt, and maybe $100 million is nothing to a lot of people. To me, that's a lot of money.
And it could be more. A golf data service recently added up all the holes. The total came to 234 military courses in the United States alone. That's 2,300 holes of golf on 15,000 acres. Military only allowed.
This is the 36-hole Fort Meade, Maryland golf course. It's one of 9 military courses in the greater Washington area, which, like the rest of the nation, has recently seen an explosion in the demand for public golf courses.
Fred Gay, can you hold, please? Now, you saw this morning. Wicked golf course. 6:30 on a Monday morning. People are calling up for tee times for Sunday at 6:30 in the morning. It's crazy around here. You can't get on.
Open up the military courses. That'd be terrific for the everyday golfer. Give them more chance to play.
Only active duty, retired, and Defense Department civilians can play the courses. That includes the Commander-in-Chief, of course. Last week, Mr. Clinton was at Hickam Air Force Base in Hawaii.
There's 6 courses, I think, in Hawaii. 6 military courses. Now, that's a lot of golf courses for military people to have available and the public not to be able to use.
Leave us alone, pleads the Pentagon. Private military courses raise money for other recreational activities and are good for morale and esprit de corps.
Soldier gets a day off, he goes out and gets out in the fresh air and the sunshine for 4 or 5 hours, drink a beer.
There goes morale.
Keeps them off the street.
If I have to start competing with civilians, I just look at it as another benefit that I'm going to be losing.
Lighten up, reply critics.
No offense, generals, but, move over a little. Let us on.
Besides, say civilians, we'll pay, and you need the money. Jim Stewart, CBS News, Washington.
Today, Dave Ryan will understand the benefits of a little extra protection. Today, Brady Blackwell will come to appreciate a shatter-resistant shampoo bottle. Today, for the first time in years, Sheena Connor's grandpa will be able to walk with less pain. Today will be a better day for a lot of people, simply because of a material we call plastic.
Day after day, you make those glasses of thick Metamucil disappear. Why not make them all disappear with FiberCon? Doctor-recommended FiberCon gives you the same fiber regularity in tablets.
Easy to swallow tablets.
Get doctor-recommended FiberCon.
With all I've got to do, I can't afford a sleepless night. So when I feel I can't sleep, I take maximum strength Nitol. It's safe and it works fast, and that means a better night's sleep.
Get to sleep in minimum time with maximum strength Nitol.
So frustrating. I don't know why we can't get the receptor to come. Are you done with...
Most people think we make medicines. Actually, our job is to find them.
I'm going to lunch. You coming? No, I want to get this gel running. I'll see you down there then.
On the brink of discovery, Glaxo.
Yes, there it is.
This is your life.
Sprint Express, may I help you? Sprint is the only global phone company with local, long distance, and cellular. So whether you're calling around the world or around the corner, with Sprint, you can be there now.
Be there now.
So whoever said the world doesn't revolve around you, obviously didn't have Sprint.
One out of 700 children in this country suffers from a developmental disorder called autism. Symptoms include an inability to communicate with other people. Recently, a number of therapists who say they broke through the wall of silence reported a horrifying discovery. Linda Taira investigates in tonight's Eye on America.
Jerry Gherardi, a pharmacist, thought this New Hampshire farm would be the perfect place to raise his 4 children, especially his youngest. Matthew is autistic. He doesn't speak and seems to live in a world of his own.
Cookie.
The Gherardis tried just about everything to help him. So did Mark and Laura Storch, whose daughter is autistic.
You try to believe in all sorts of new therapies that are out there, anything that would possibly help your autistic child function in this world.
Within the last 2 years, Jenny Stewart, like Matthew Gherardi, began using an experimental technique called facilitated communication. The autistic child's hand is supported by another person known as a facilitator.
We've been able to prove in many, many instances that, no question, but the people themselves are communicating.
Syracuse professor Douglas Bicklin, the leading proponent of the technique, convinced many parents that it works.
I bought some of the package that locked inside my child is an intelligent human being who has intellectual abilities that are not being able to be brought out.
An English multiple choice exam.
Right.
And he scored an
88%. The teacher thought he did fantastic. It's something that I can't really believe is happening.
Soon there was something else Jerry Gherardi couldn't believe was happening. Matthew typing you. But the key question here is whose hand was typing? Who was actually communicating? Harvard speech pathologist Howard Shane.
I've been involved in 5 legal cases. I've examined 3 individuals and found in those cases that the communication is coming from the facilitator.
Yet pediatrician Ann Botash says something has to be going on. She found physical evidence of sexual abuse in 4 other facilitated communication cases.
I think there's a large population of children who are sexually abused who are not being picked up, and this facilitated communication disclosures are really the tip of the iceberg.
Neither Matthew nor Jenny had any physical signs of abuse.
See Jenny without a supervisor for 10 months.
Now, is this the barn you ended up moving to?
Yes.
The authorities told Gherardi to stay away from his son. He spent 5 nights in his barn.
And then a friend of mine offered his house, so I moved into his unfinished house with no water and no heat for 6 months.
And for 6 months you were separated from your son, Matthew,
Yes.
and from your family?
Yes.
For the moment, both cases have been thrown out of court. The charges of sexual abuse shoved off to the sidelines because defense attorneys were able to discredit facilitated communication and, in turn, the autistic children who supposedly said they had been sexually abused.
You know, what you're saying to me is that we should not use facilitated communication unless we can guarantee that people will say things that we want to hear.
Meanwhile, Mark Storch and his attorneys are bracing for a possible reopening of the case. As for Jerry Gherardi, what began as a hopeful step became a slide into fate because facilitated communication is still being encouraged by parents and educators who believe it is nothing less than a miracle. In Pike, New Hampshire, Linda Taira for Eye on America.
And that's part of our world tonight. Coming up on this CBS station, they follow you and harass you and might even kill you. Find out about a most dangerous obsession on 48 Hours, Stalker. 48 Hours tonight at 10, 9 Central Time. We'll see you then.
And Dan and I will see you again here tomorrow night. Thank you for joining us and for all of us at CBS News. Good night.
Good night.
Experience CBS News.